Yeah, dude. So I'm just making this video because me just giving you the preset won't really help much unless you really know how to use it, at least just a little bit. So I'm just gonna go through it. This is a track that I recently released, and the mastering channel looks very similar to the one that I did on that track of yours. Well, they always kind of, my mastering always kind of looks more or less like this, just applied differently. So yeah, so I'm in this track of mine, and this part of the drop is like the most busiest part of the song. Like everything is happening, so that's usually a good piece of music to use for the mastering, at least in this sense. So I'm gonna give you this Maximus as a template, this preset. I've saved it as a preset just now, so I'm gonna give it to you. So you'll have this, but so I'm just gonna quickly explain each band. It's really simple though, and then you should know how to use it. So basically what I do is, so I'll bring up Maximus. So you'll already have these curves set up like this. You probably know how Maximus usually looks like this, right? So from here where it's usual, I just do that to each curve, more or less, depending on the track. So and I'm also like a very visual guy when I do mastering. Like I like looking at the graphs and like what they look like. Obviously what they sound like or what the track sounds like is the most important, obviously, but like, so yeah. Okay, so I'm just gonna pause it there. So what I look for in this graph is I want the peaks to be peaking in this curve, and the average volume to be like where that threshold is, that real pattern over there. Then, because that to me says like there is dynamics, but I'm still bringing it down. So this is obviously focusing on the low end, yeah? So you can see as the kick hits, the kick is being like brought down by the curve, but the bass, generally the rest of the track's bass still has that dynamic, you know? So that's always going to be different for each track. So what you need to do is to obviously just bring up the pre-gain to that point where you feel like you've got the right amount of dynamics, yeah? And then just bring it back with the post-gain. So whatever you increase, you decrease with the post-gain. I don't know how much you know or you don't know, so I'm just sort of skimming through. Hopefully I'm not like over-explaining stuff that is like simple to you, and hopefully also not under-explaining. And then what I'm doing here is I'm just merging the low end to make sure that it's in a mono, so that we don't get any phase cancellation shit, yeah? And then same for attack and release stuff. This should be fine. Like if you feel like things are sticking out a bit too much, you can bring up the release a bit. And for low end, it's nice to have a bit of a longer attack so that the kick still punches as well. But those things are so like, it's hard to even sometimes know like what the hell of a difference they actually make is in mastering. Like it's so fine tuning, yeah? So then with mids, it's the same thing. So again, like, you know, peak stuff that peaks is getting brought down by the curve, and then the rest, average volume is hitting up around the threshold, everything else is still dynamic. But with this one, instead of merging it, I've like done some separation, which widens the mid-range, like stereo widening, and just boosted the release a bit. You can play with the release, attack and release stuff, but to me that's very small differences generally that they make. And then same for the highs. I think it's a good rule of thumb to not to compress the highs as much as the rest of your track, but I think for this one I'm compressing pretty hard. Yeah, it's pretty much the same. Peaks getting brought down, and then a bit more stereo separation in the mids. Usually, yeah. I know people say stereo separation is sort of like a tree, you know, the further you go up, the more wide it gets. But, you know, do whatever sounds good. And then for the master, I actually don't do a curve. All I do is, depending on, so what I do is the such threshold I bring down to 1%, and the ceiling I also bring to 0.1. So that means that anything that crosses the 0 dB is going to be saturated, which is a pretty nice way to get a lot of volume without like over limiting stuff. Yeah. So from here on, you just push the track up to get like max volume without pushing it too much. Yeah. So you obviously want your track to be as loud as possible, but not have any dynamics. You know, you still want some things to be louder than others. So. Yeah, so at this point I just push it in there so that the peaks will cross 0 and the rest should be like about normal. And then the more saturated you want the sound to be, the straighter this curve should be. Like the more distorted in a sense. If you want less distorted, just bring it down like that. And then what you can do is, like for this track I had it over there. Which will bring up like lower volumes, will make them a bit louder as well. And then no stereo separation or anything like that. Just like, so yeah, that should be pretty much it in terms of using this. And then for the low cut, I think I cut around like 25 hertz, because anything lower than that I don't think we really want. Although guys disagree with that, but whatever. And that's pretty much it. Your track should be perfect then. It won't be clipping. I've got a limiter on here, but it's not doing anything. I've got it at -1. Just to make sure that it's not going above 0 dB. But it's not even really necessary. It's already... There's no distortion or anything, so it's like perfect. So yeah, I hope this helps, man. So I'll attach this short video and the presets. And then hopefully you're good to go. If you have any questions, just let me know.